It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect, and I'm into this game, yeah, we'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Harry on the top. Right hand from the great double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the...
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that SportsGrid network. He is Donnie. I am Ben. A second hour with a ton of focus on the National Football League. It is Win Total Tuesday, once again live right here on TEL. We flip our attention to the NFC North a little bit later on in this second hour. Can the Lions repeat as a divisional title winner after not winning a divisional crown for 3 decades? What about Jordan Love and his new paycheck and the Green Bay Packers? Can Caleb Williams lead the Bears to the top of the division? And what's the outlook in Minneapolis for J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson? All that coming later on in this second hour. Some NFL news and notes to start, and a recap around the world of golf from the Olympic Games last weekend before we get to the start of the FedEx Cup playoffs this week down in Memphis. Plenty to get to here in this second hour, DRS.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And also keep in mind, this is week 2 for most teams in the preseason, getting that second game in, which means we're going to get a look at some guys that we think are going to be starting quarterbacks. So to get the nod, as long as they perform well, will probably be those younger starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And there's really no more downtime. Like next weekend, we are going to be having college football on your TV, and the wait then starts for the NFL. So we're in that crunch mode right now to get as much information as we can before those live bullets really start to fly at this point. It's a fun time of year to sort of gather that intel and see what we can make of this season.
This offseason for the New York Jets, now into the preseason and training camp, a story has been who is at camp or at practice and who is not there. During mandatory minicamp, no Aaron Rodgers. Throughout training camp, no Hassan Reddick after being acquired in a trade with Philadelphia earlier this offseason. Hassan Reddick, who wants a new contract and is not happy with the Jets front office, officially offered up a formal trade request yesterday. Okay, Hassan Reddick hasn't shown up to camp, but to me, DRS, it's not so much the request, it's the response from Joe Douglas and the New York Jets on Twitter. Before we get to the Hassan Reddick highlights, here we go. We have this statement from Gang Green. We have informed Hassan that we will not trade him, that he is expected to be here with his teammates, and that he will continue to be fined per the CBA if he does not report. Since the trade discussions back in March, we have been clear, direct, and consistent with our position. Our focus will remain on the guys we have here as we prepare for the regular season. Airing out the dirty internal laundry on social media. Not necessarily the highest vibes for Hassan Reddick and the New York Jets.
And he's a quality football player. So if you're the Jets, do you want him in camp? Absolutely. Do you want him happy? Sure you do. But here's the fault. Like, you can probably blame fault to the agent, to the general manager, to the player, then back to the organization. We understand how this works. But we also know that when like the Philadelphia Eagles aren't trading Hassan Reddick out of nowhere, going like, you know what? We're at his welcome. Maybe he was a little bit freelancing last year. We just don't want him anymore. Somebody come take him. No, the reason why he got traded to the Jets or any other franchise is because he wanted more money. And everybody understood that. So if he didn't want any more money, he'd still be a defensive end on the Philadelphia Eagles, who felt the need, that said, you know what are you asking for? That's a little bit too pricey for us. Let's see if we can move you. The Jets were on the hook saying, you know what? We could really use a pass rusher on our devastating defense as we try to win a world championship. But before you come up with trade compensation, you must reach out to the agent and say, what is your client looking for? Okay, we have the grounds and we have the terms ready for it. Let's make this deal. You come up in the next 24 hours to New York. We'll sign this deal. We'll get you on the field. Everybody's happy here. The fact that they traded him, like, hey, what do you think you're looking for? Here's what I'm looking for. All right, let's make that deal. And it looks like the Jets made one offer literally within hours of the trade that was turned down, and the bad vibes got going right from there. Now, if you are the Jets, would you rather have Hassan Reddick in camp and practicing and playing than not? Of course you would. But there comes a time where the NFL loves pass rushers. And the past 4 to 5 years, Hassan Reddick has been a double-digit pass rushing sack machine.
Yes.
Other teams will want that. So if you gave up a 3 that can turn into a conditional 2, you can get that same compensation back. Because I guarantee you right now, if the Jets put Hassan Reddick on the market, somebody's going to pay him. And I don't know what the Jets were thinking about when they made that deal and decided not to pay him or come to that agreement here. You know what serves no purposes here for Hassan Reddick and the Jets? To have him sit out the season and the Jets, hey, again, I love these, stand on business. We won't let this happen. Congratulations. You're a worse football team because you did that. Make the move here. Get draft compensation back. Get another player back. He doesn't want to be in New York. You don't want him. Move on here. What are we waiting on?
Donnie, as we talked about with the Brandon Ayuk situation, where now he is reopening negotiating windows with the San Francisco 49ers, it's part of that reason. You want a new deal with your organization. They say no. Okay, if a team acquires Brandon Ayuk, they have to give up trade assets, more than likely high draft capital, but also agree to the new contract extension that the player wants. If you think his asking price in Philadelphia was absurd and he would change his tune now with a new team, you have done yourselves a disservice. You can blame the player for being greedy or inconsistent. It doesn't matter. The player has asked for what the player has asked for, and you traded him in the hopes that he would agree with you? Where's the rationale in that? Here's the offseason timeline for Hassan Reddick. Back in February, he got permission from the Eagles to seek a trade. In early April, the Jets traded for him for a conditional draft pick. Come the start of training camp, he did not report. He was also not at mandatory minicamp, and as of yesterday afternoon, requested that trade and got publicly rebuffed. A fancy tweet quote graphic from the own team's Twitter handle shared it out there. Again, it's a bad situation. And you can argue where Hassan Reddick ranks in terms of edge rushers in the National Football League. He's been a Pro Bowler each of the last 2 years. He's had at least 11 sacks in the last 4 seasons. And Donnie, to your point, he had 16 sacks with the Eagles back in 2022 when Philadelphia won the NFC. He led all of the league with 5 forced fumbles that year in his first year in Philly. He played his college ball at Temple. He's a native of Camden, New Jersey, not very far away from Philadelphia. I think if the Eagles had the money to delve out on Hassan Reddick, he would still be representing the Birds. It is a bad situation right now for the New York Jets in an offseason that has still been filled with drama, despite the pleas at the end of last year to leave all of the drama from outside the locker room.
Yeah, by the way, he is a local kid. He's actually from Haddon Heights, which is the same conference I played high school football in. So shout out back in my junior year, 2 touchdowns in that game. Had 1 on offense, 1 on defense. We might be able to get to that later in the show, but had to fit that one in. But also, if you are a Jets fan sitting out here, there can't be many Jets fans that go like, you know what? Love the organization for doing this. Stick it to Hassan Reddick. Like, no. You're asking the questions as a fan going like, why did we acquire this guy and just not pay him? Because he is a very good football player that can help us win a championship. Like, there are no winners in this situation. I understand. Maybe the biggest winner would be Woody Johnson going like, whether or not Hassan Reddick plays, I can find him, take the money, and also not have to pay him $14 or $15 million this year. That's a fantastic win. Outside of his bank account, this isn't what you're supposed to do. And again, when the trade went down, most people looked at it, Ben, and said, what are the Eagles doing? You just gave away one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. Well, the reason was he wanted a lot of money, and you figure the Jets were like, you know what? We're all in at this point. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know how long he's going to be here for. Let's get the best possible team on the field. It made so much sense, only to see the decay of what's happening now. And we're talking about real fines. Players want to play. Players want to get paid. Nobody wants to have letters probably from FedEx every Tuesday saying you owe another $100,000. Next week, you owe another $100,000. The animosity is building up quickly here. And wouldn't you be surprised? Brandon Ayuk's situation, you talked about it in San Francisco. That's probably going to end with him getting a long, lucrative deal for the 49ers. I don't see the same path here to victory for the Jets and Hassan Reddick.
We'll talk about all this off-the-field drama for New York. Hassan Reddick, Aaron Rodgers. Does it impact our view on the actual football that will be played this year by the Jets a little bit later on to start off hour number 3? But just for context, there are 5 edge rushers around the National Football League that make $25 million per year or more. Nick Bosa, the highest paid. Donnie's guy, Joshua Hines-Allen, who was extended this offseason. Brian Burns, TJ Watt, and Myles Garrett. That's kind of what we're discussing here in that realm. More on the early line next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
The postseason is here on the PGA Tour. This week begins the FedEx Cup playoffs at the St. Jude Championship in Memphis, Tennessee. And down there near Beale Street, it is Keith Stewart joining us here on this Tuesday on the early line on SportsGrid. Keith, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on TEL. We'll forecast the playoffs on the PGA Tour and look back on an Olympic golf weekend over in Paris and the final regular season event on the PGA Tour as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, boys, it's great to be with you on the early line. It was an awesome weekend for us on SportsGrid and Read the Line. We cashed little Lydia Ko plus 3,300 with gold. And then, of course, Aaron Rye with What a Mess at Wyndham. The second round, the third round, and the fourth round almost got completed on Sunday, but it didn't matter. Rye plus 3,500. He brought home the cash. It's time to get into the playoffs, top 70, fighting for those top 50 spots. I'm down here in Memphis to break it all down.
We love it, Keith, and great job on those big plus money hits. So let's talk about the format of the FedEx Cup postseason and the playoffs that begin this week in Memphis. Can you outline the events for us and what each stage means as they progress through the postseason?
Well, Ben, we have 3 weeks coming up. Right now, we have the top 70 in the FedEx Cup point standings after the regular season, which ended on Monday. They're trying to get to Colorado for the BMW Championship, which is the top 50 players. The guys on the bubble, Will Zalatoris, Jake Knapp, they're sitting at 49 and 50. Harris English, he's 51. Outside the top 50, we have Victor Hovland, last year's FedEx Cup champion. We have Jordan Spieth outside the top 50. These guys are dying to get into that top 50 spot because that gives them signature status. Those elevated cash grab events that don't have cuts, you have to be inside the top 50 in order to earn a spot for those at the start of next year. And then the top 30 go from there, from the BMW to East Lake for the Tour Championship. We've got 3 weeks in a row, a ton of cash on the line, $20 million this week, $3.6 million for first. Let's have at it down here in the swamp of Memphis.
By the way, Keith, before we get to the championship that starts this week, and it's a great format all the way through, I got to ask you just one quick question about the Wyndham Championship. We saw, Aaron Rai win. Max Gracerman, of course, he stumbles, but you can say, you know what, I'm going to go to sleep with $861,000 in my pocket. I think I'll be okay. What happened with Matt Kuchar? Why did he not finish out? And what was the talk around the town with him playing all by himself his final 3 shots on that last hole?
Well, those guys had been out there all day. Those guys specifically played 36 holes. And, Matt is one of those guys that is definitely a pro's pro. I mean, he is very much a stickler to what the rules are and what the officials are doing. He gets on 18. He did not know that the group was in front of him in the 18th fairway, and he ends up hitting into him. And when he does that and the officials did not tell him that the group was there, he was extremely frustrated. He was also very frustrated with his day. Don't forget, Matt Kuchar was one guy. He had played in all 17 FedEx Cup playoffs. And he needed a win in order to get in this year for 18 in a row. The only guy to ever do that. And he didn't get it done on Sunday. So you know that his frustration level was very, very high. And then he hits a bad drive there. He wasn't sure that the group was there. And then when he gets up there, they all gave him the option. They said, hey, you guys can stop if you want. And he said, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. He was very frustrated. And if you know Matt, then you know that once he's got something in his head, that's what he's doing. And to his credit, to further that point, he came out the next morning at 8 o'clock, and then he asked for relief for line of sight before he even hit a golf shot. I mean, this guy, you got to love it. I mean, if you're all in, push all the chips in. He finished the hole in 6 minutes. He made par, finished T12. It's really kind of irrelevant other than the fact that it helped the golf Twitter feed kind of push its way through. And thank goodness Aaron Rai was crowned on Sunday, and he didn't have to wait around for these shenanigans.
Matt Kuchar out there on the course yesterday. The PGA Tour announced that the final round was going to conclude, and then about 6 minutes later replied to their own tweet saying the final round of the Wyndham Championship is now done. It would be easy to take a cheap shot at Matt Kuchar, but we'll move on to the St. Jude Championship in Memphis. So, Keith, you beautifully laid out what the format of the FedEx Cup playoffs is going to look like over this 3-week stretch. How much are you factoring in motivation, not only at the top of the leaderboard, but to make the top 50 to play in the BMW Championship to your handicaps this week?
If I'm looking for, motivation, strokes gain motivation, the guys sitting from 70 to 50 are going to play extremely aggressive on this golf course. Remember, TPC Southwind, we know this golf course. It's been the St. Jude forever. It became a WGC in 2019, one of those world elite events. And then in 2022, it became a playoff event. Will Zalatoris won the first one over Sepp Straka in a playoff. And then, of course, Lucas Glover a year ago. The guys in the 70 to 50 range are going to be absolutely just firing at pins all day long. And I tell you what, I've seen the golf course, and it's in perfect shape. And we're down here. The Bermuda grass rough is super dense and high. And, of course, those Zoysia grass fairways are perfect for the approach game. Now, remember, in order to play well at this golf course, par 70, it's treachery off the tee. I almost kind of call this place TPC Graceland. It's like a tourist trap, right? Stay out of trouble. Stay out of, the water. Stay out of the souvenir shop. Get yourself in place to hit these approach shots. And then, for the most part, these greens, we look at the guys that have won here. Zalatoris, Glover, JT, not the world's greatest putters. Get it on the green, get it close. You'll make some birdies, and you make a run at that top 50 because it is so important for next year's signature status.
Take a look here at the top of the leaderboard, at least odds-wise, at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Scotty Scheffler, once again, that favorite at a plus 330 price, followed by Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, Morikawa, Oberg, and also Cantlay. Who are we looking forward to this week in the field, Keith?
Well, I'll tell you what, those top three in the single digits, I'm not going to bet either of them. It's time for the early leans on the early line. We had Lydia Ko last week. We hit. How about a guy? I'm going to bring the Iceman down here where it's hot. Patrick Cantlay, plus 2,500. He was runner-up here last year, lost in a playoff. But, if there's a plotters golf course guy and a playoff winner, this guy is your guy. He's been great on approach. He gained over 6 strokes over there at Royal Troon in difficult conditions, and his putter's been hot lately. The second guy, I'm going to bring you up a name. I wrote about him yesterday on Golf Digest, and that is JT. He's a regional guy. He's going to have tons of support here. He won here in 2020. Justin Thomas started the week at plus 5,000. He's already dropped 500. He's plus 4,500. Get on JT early. It's going to keep dropping because he's a horse for this course.
Keith Stewart, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the week of the St. Jude Championship in Memphis. We appreciate your time. Win Total Tuesday on the early line. Up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFC selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Win Total Tuesday, live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. He is Donnie, I am Ben. Our focus today on the NFC North, a very compelling division on that side of the National Football League. The Detroit Lions, the favorites to win this division for a second consecutive year. Of course, last year's divisional crown for Detroit was their first in 3 decades. The Packers, who have owned this division for most of the last decade plus, 8 NFC North crowns in the last 13 years, second best price with a new highly paid quarterback in Jordan Love. Caleb Williams will lead the Chicago Bears in his rookie campaign, a season that will feature high expectations in the Windy City. A winning campaign is expected, and what to make of the other rookie quarterback in this division. J.J. McCarthy, with the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL at his disposal, Justin Jefferson. That's if McCarthy wins the starting job. Sam Darnold in competition for QB number 1 in the Twin Cities as well. DRS, big picture, looking at those divisional prices, how do you assess the NFC North entering this year?
No surprise, the Lions at a plus 130 price. No surprise, the Green Bay Packers at a 2-to-1 price. You might even be able to argue that they might even should be closer together. You know what the biggest surprise is here? It's the Chicago Bears. Not that they're coming in third, because they should be ahead of the Vikings, and quite frankly, should be behind the Packers and the Lions, but at a plus 330 price. This is a team that was average at best last year, a rookie quarterback coming in, and I understand how good this rookie is supposed to be. And yes, I am buying into expectations that the Bears certainly are on the rise, but a plus 330 price lets me to believe that this is a team come December that will be a game or two back of either the Lions or the Packers NBA playoff squad. If you were lining up the Bears at a 5-to-1 price or a 6-to-1 price, I might not even have raised an eye. Go, yeah, that probably makes some sense, because technically the Packers to me and the Lions are better teams. But the fact of being priced at a plus 330, which also reminds us that there are a lot of people out there using, Ben, the FanDuel Sportsbook to bet the Chicago Bears to win this division. They are going to be so much fun this year. The reason I bring this up is you can really see it going one of two ways. If I told you at the end of the year the Chicago Bears ended up 10-7 and right in the thick of things in the NFC North, that wouldn't be a surprise. But if the Bears only won 7 games and lost 10, you could probably go along with that as well and be not surprised. That's why it's so tough to gauge this team. But in the betting markets here, they are getting very aggressively priced at a plus 330 price. I'm interested to see how that one plays out.
No doubt. And in that divisional race, they should factor come late November, early December, certainly as a part of the postseason picture around the NFC, as the odds dictate. And we show you here, the Lions have the highest win total in the NFC North, 10.5 the number in the Motor City. The over has the juice. The over has the juice in Green Bay as well. 9.5 the win total, double-digit wins expected for the Packers led by Jordan Love. The over has the juice in Chicago, greater than $1.60 in terms of that juice on the over. So a winning record is the expectation in the Windy City, despite having a rookie quarterback and Matt Eberflus entering year number 3. The only team of the 4 in the NFC North, Donnie, that has the juice on the under of their win total is Minnesota. 7.5 is that number. The Vikings have a lot of juice on the under to be around a 7-win football team.
They'll be competitive, too, the Minnesota Vikings. Whether or not they go Darnold as the starting quarterback or if they go with J.J. McCarthy, I believe they should, and we'll probably find out in week number 2 if that's going to be a formality. But if you are looking at the competitiveness here, this is a very good division. There's not going to be a step over, we finally get to play the Minnesota Vikings this week. No, they have a lot of talent on that Vikings roster and a devastating offense that leads with maybe the best overall wide receiver in the NFL. But again, it just comes back to that Chicago Bears. We got spoiled, and maybe a little bit spoiled here on the Vikings. Why do I say that? C.J. Stroud was so good last year as a rookie on a team that wasn't expected to do all that much, and they turned it up doing a lot last year. I feel like we're putting that burden on. Like, again, if you win Heisman trophies and come in as the number 1 overall quarterback, where teams are talking about tanking for you for the past 3 years, you're supposed to have those expectations. Sometimes they're unfair, but I just feel like if C.J. Stroud wasn't as good as he was last year, would we still be looking at the Chicago Bears and the Vikings maybe as a great chance to have a great season, or should I say a winning season and a playoff opportunity? It'll be interesting to how the Chicago Bears handle, because as I said, 10-7 or 7-10, I won't be surprised either way, which is a wild swing in markets where you won't be upset if it goes one certain direction.
Expectation is a funny word because it projects. It is not what has happened based on trend, but the odds indicate what we follow here. In fact, I think there is a lot of that big word expectation in the NFC North based on limited sample size for the current organizations and their trajectory. And that starts at the very top. When the Lions go back-to-back, is a divisional champ in the NFC North? Find out next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFC selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
The Detroit Lions favored to win the NFC North for a second consecutive season. Of course, at this point last summer, entering the 2023 NFL campaign, the Lions were favored to win the division, something they had been unable to do around the National Football League since the year 1993. Last year, Detroit prevailed atop the NFC North for their first divisional crown in 3 decades. Can they make it 2 consecutive divisional titles in the NFC North after having not won a divisional crown in 30 years? That's what the odds expect at plus 130. And again, Donnie, we talked about that big word, expectation. If you look at the Lions and what they were able to accomplish a season ago, a 12-5 regular season record, a divisional championship, and just a better second half for a couple of questionable coaching decisions away from a Super Bowl appearance, you would say, yeah, Detroit should be the obvious favorite to win the NFC North. But it's not like the Lions have been world beaters in this division or have the pedigree of multiple divisional titles in a row, or even multiple 10-win seasons back-to-back.
Yes, and all the expectations for the offense to just be on cruise control, certainly on point. I mean, this offense is as good as it gets, and the key ingredient, maybe not necessarily the players on the field themselves, but the offensive coordinator sticking around, who I still can't believe he came back to Detroit when he was probably the most wanted head coach. And the reason why maybe, certain coaches ended up in Washington because they thought they had Ben Johnson, but he backed out of the deal, and Dan Quinn winds up there. Those are some things that we're going to get sorted out in the next couple of years when he does become a head coach. But look at the offense itself, Ben. Pound for pound, for me, the best offensive line in football. A great tight end in Laporta. Fantastic wide receivers led by Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was absolutely incredible, got paid and absolutely should have here. He's perfect for that offense. Williams on the outside, a young wide receiver you draft high that through injuries and out of football, that maybe he can show that dominant force. Khalif Raymond on the opposite side, Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery in the backfield, and Jared Goff, who has been a very good quarterback since coming over for Los Angeles. Sort of a throw-in, right? Like, just take Jared Goff, use him for a year, throw him back, get your new quarterback. He's now their franchise guy. I love everything about this team, which includes, if you want to bet against them, the defense does have some vulnerabilities, which is the perfect storm for totals and player yards, and you have to keep scoring all throughout the game. They play in a dome atmosphere, so every week they play at home. You're not worried about windy conditions outside, snowy or rainy conditions. So I'm very high on Detroit at this point. I do like the Packers, which we'll get to to in a little bit, but just the focus of that offense with the offensive coordinator coming back, the expectations and the continuity, the sky is the limit for the Lions.
Detroit ranked in the bottom 10 in terms of scoring defense a season ago, one of the 5 worst passing defenses in all of the NFL. Really good defending the run, and up front, the secondary did have some issues. It was a key area to look for Brad Holmes in the NFL draft, drafting Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. Again, it's such a funny thing looking at the Lions and saying to our brains, after watching 30 years of NFL football, that, the Lions should be the favorites to win the NFC North for a second consecutive year. But it is the correct point. 10.5, the win total for Detroit. The over has the juice at -138. The Detroit Lions, in some form or fashion, DRS, have been a National Football League organization, even back as the Portsmouth Spartans, dating back to 1930. 1930. The Lions, as an organization, have not won back-to-back 10-win, have not had back-to-back 10-win seasons in their organization history, dating back to 1930. That is nearly a century of seasons. And, of course, they were a 12-win team a season ago, expected from the odds perspective to win 11 games this year. The closest the Lions came, a 3-year run in 1993 through 1995 when they had 10 wins, in 93 when they last won a divisional crown prior to a season ago, 9 wins in 94 and 10 wins in 1995. But again, I agree with the odds makers that this is Detroit's division to lose, as crazy as that might seem.
Yeah, and you're right about that. And also, the biggest winners, forget about just the Detroit Lions fans finally getting some salvation, because for the better part of the past, 30 to 35 years, been a really trash can organization, and we'd have to put up with them on Thanksgiving Day as that early game, just get it out of the way and travel before you get to actually watch a real game, being the Dallas Cowboys. So we're winning all the way around at this point, but it also was the installation of the head coach and the mindset that came in. Because if you remember, here's what you love about sports, right? Dan Campbell has an opening press conference and basically goes back to being like, we're going to be the toughest team. We're going to bite your kneecaps. We're going to drag you out into the deep water and drown you. And everybody goes like, this guy's dumb as a rock. Analytics probably out the window. This team is going to be terrible. But he really took that Detroit mindset of being that gritty, tough town and instituted in his football season, or football team, I should say, for the football fans in Detroit to really buy in and have a legitimate force. This is a team that's going to be on the rise for the next couple of years because they built it from within. Obviously getting Jared Goff outside of it, but a lot of these players here, homegrown talent growing up in Detroit and preaching, we can do this thing, and the fans now buying in. It's actually great to see, because this was a franchise that was just in a long stretch of losing and an afterthought on the national scene, that now stepping into it, one of the more fun teams to watch and a great home field atmosphere now in Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely so. The environment that we saw in that first playoff game against the LA Rams, Detroit looking for its first postseason victory in 32 years, was electric. They made it to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1991, tied alongside Philadelphia at a plus 550 price to win the NFC. That's the second best number. Detroit expected to be back in that pantheon, only behind the San Francisco 49ers at this moment. But some injury concerns, perhaps, DRS, for the Lions based on yesterday's practice. Jahmyr Gibbs, one of the sensational rookies, leaves with a hamstring injury. Brad Holmes, the general manager in the Motor City, was questioned for drafting a running back 12th overall in 2023. But all of the rookies last year, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, the tight end on the other side, Brian Branch, making significant contributions throughout the regular season, leading to a divisional title, and throughout that playoff run for Detroit as well. Terrion Arnold slightly banged up at practice yesterday as the Lions made moves this offseason to address the secondary concerns in Detroit. Do any of those injury updates from camp affect your outlook on the Lions this season?
Not necessarily, because you're hoping that these guys obviously aren't season ending, but you just don't want the lingering issues here. And that's why you bring up Jahmyr Gibbs, not a hamstring injury. You start the season with that injury, it tends to linger here. And you're talking about one of the better running back combinations in the professional sports rankings here. Montgomery, that a hammer, gets the ball in the goal line, short situations, can be your lead back. But Jahmyr Gibbs is so talented in the open field. It's the perfect combination of thunder and lightning. That's what I worry about, because if you are the Lions, even if you have to sacrifice sitting this guy throughout the better parts of September. Yes, I'm talking about that. You need this guy healthy from midseason on, because he's such a game changer and such a playmaker. You don't want to have him come back and September 21st or whatever, have him hurt that hamstring again and be down 6 or 7 weeks. You saw last year with the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson, hurt his hamstring here, he'll be back soon. What did he miss? The better parts of 2 months here? You want to make sure these playmakers are healthy and right. So hopefully he sits this one out for the better parts of the next month here, so you can see him full blast during that, 3/4 of the final parts of the season.
And frankly, it's been a great offseason in Detroit. They have paid everybody they had to pay. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, making him one of the highest paid offensive linemen. And, of course, Jared Goff, whose MVP number this year, Donnie, I will be paying attention to. It's a 25-1 price right now. That ranks 12th best in the National Football League. Maybe the best offseason maneuver made in the Motor City, the retention of Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator we thought was out the door as soon as Detroit was eliminated from playoff consideration last year, more than likely becoming the next head coach of the Commanders. Ben Johnson still in Detroit. I think that is huge for the Lions this year. Expected to win 11 games, expected to win its second consecutive divisional crown. How about the top contenders in the NFC North, the Packers and the Bears? Next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFC selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The Detroit Lions are the favorites to win the NFC North, but the odds makers expect both the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears will give the Lions a run for their money atop the division. And based on pedigree and recent sample size, sure, the Lions are the reigning NFC North champions, but it's been a division owned by Green Bay in the last decade and a half. The Packers have not won the division the last 2 years, Minnesota in 2022, Detroit in 2023, but prior to that, 8 divisional crowns for Green Bay in an 11-year span. But the quarterback for those divisional championships, Aaron Rodgers. Now It's Jordan Love, paid handsomely this offseason, $55 million per year, right alongside Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence as the highest paid quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League entering 2024. And there should be optimism in Wisconsin based on what Jordan Love put on tape to end out the regular season, to earn a playoff spot for the Pack, and of course that upset at the Star, knocking out the Dallas Cowboys. But is it enough for you, DRS, to convince you that Green Bay will be a 10-win and playoff team once again?
I think they can be. I really do, because sometimes you like the way the season starts compared to the way it finishes here, because the vibes were very high for Green Bay at the end of the season. And you're right, that game in Dallas really woke up a lot of people to see what that top end can be for the Green Bay Packers. If you take a look at the offensive line, it's not one of the better ones in the NFL, but certainly a solid one. The one thing that we've always waited for, and you watch, is you get that perfect storm. The young wide receivers playing with a young quarterback, and the maturation process continues. You saw that with the Green Bay Packers at the end of last season. What's one thing you can hope for if you're the Green Bay Packers as a fan? Of course, you want Jordan Love to be healthy the whole season. That's the name of the game. Keep your starting quarterback in there for the full 17 weeks. But like Christian Watson could just be healthy the whole year. No hamstring injuries, no leg issues here. Just be that top-end guy, what this offense can be. And say what you want. A year ago, we were talking about the downfall of the running back position. Anybody can plug in anywhere. Nobody's going to get signed to big money. How about coming out of nowhere with Jacobs signing as now your first-string running back in Green Bay to take over for Aaron Jones? Love that move. Like, everything makes sense on offense, and also continuity matters. It's not as if Jordan Love last year was a first-year starter that he had no idea was going to take place and he was a rookie. He was in that Green Bay system for years, and now another year under Matt LaFleur. I just think the sky is the limit for that Green Bay offense. The defensive side, solid front fours, got some playmakers in the secondary. They'll be neck and neck all season long with the Detroit Lions. But I think, once again, this isn't a team we're going to get caught off guard with. We know the capabilities of the Green Bay Packers. Are they ready to take that next step and truly challenge, let's just say, the San Francisco 49ers for supremacy in the NFC? I don't know. But this is a quality football game. It's a quality football team. And what you can expect on a week-to-week basis is competency out of that offense. I really think you get that. There's no reason to believe that the Packers should not make the playoffs this year. They should be in.
Joe Barry was the much maligned Packers defensive coordinator last year, many in Green Bay calling for his job. He is now out. Jeff Hafley made a very surprising move, leaving Boston College as the head coach of the Eagles to become the defensive coordinator in the National Football League of the Green Bay Packers. But Green Bay did improve on the defensive side of the football and has talent out there as well. If you're looking for the recipe of success, look at Jordan Love's final 8 games of the 2023 regular season. Packers won 6 of those 8, and 6 of the 8 Jordan Love threw for more than 250 yards, 18 touchdowns to only 1 interception in that span, capped off with a masterful performance in his playoff debut over Dallas. 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, not a single interception. It is what has led to him getting paid based on the promise and projection to now be the face of the franchise in Green Bay, continuing a 3-decade-long run now of consistent and successful quarterback play. No, Jordan Love is not Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre just yet, but Green Bay certainly believes he can be. He did play in the Packers preseason opener on Saturday afternoon in Cleveland, out there for one offensive possession through a 65-yard touchdown toss to Dontavian Wicks with less than a minute and a half into the game. It's what you want for success for Green Bay. 9.5 the win total for the Packers. The over has the juice. Despite the playoff spot a year ago, just a 9-8 record, less than double-digit wins, Donnie, Green Bay has not gone through 2 consecutive seasons with less than 10 wins since 1992 through 1994. Again, 3-decade-long run of success overall consistently for the Packers. Now we go to the Chicago Bears. Again, the expectations are sky high in the Windy City with number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. Not only a generational talent at the quarterback spot as is expected, but a team that won 5 of its final 7 regular season games a year ago. Matt Eberflus holds on to his job, and there was a conversation because of that winning stretch down the end of the regular season. would the Bears keep Justin Fields, or would they hold on to the number one pick? Of course, they draft Caleb Williams and make many other shrewd moves to bolster that side of the football this offseason. They add DeAndre Swift. They add Keenan Allen via trade. They pay DJ Moore, the biggest contract extension in history of this Bears franchise. And also in the top 10, they select Roma Dunze, the talented wide receiver out of Washington, 9th overall. The Bears have added resources to the offensive side of the ball. It's expected to give Chicago a winning record in 2024.
It is, and it's all dependent to see how Caleb Williams is going to turn out as your quarterback. If you get above average quarterback play, there's a legitimate chance they can actually make the playoffs, which means 4 decent chances out of one division for all 4 teams to make the playoffs. Now, granted, that's probably not going to happen, and rightfully so. They'll beat each other up, hold each other out. We understand that. But the one thing you can say about the Chicago Bears, if there's one term I want to use, it's going to be fun this year. No doubt about it. You're taking a look at an offense that should be fantastic, fun to watch. Is it always going to provide touchdowns and aerial highlights? Maybe not. It's still a young quarterback that's going to learn the ropes of the NFL quite quickly here. But you can't give a quarterback this young, this many weapons, and not expect him to succeed, specifically on what we expected coming out of Caleb Williams over the past couple years in college. Moore, Allen, and Odunze, as good as it gets here. DeAndre Swift in the backfield, and also the combination of, if the defense isn't all that great for Chicago, you take a look at the offenses in that division, as we just talked about, the Green Bay Packers, and specifically here, the front-end talent of the Detroit Lions. You're going to get some high-scoring efforts here in the NFC North. What a great division. I'm just looking forward to that offense and how it operates in the month of September for the Chicago Bears.
We will talk more about the Bears and the Vikings up next on Win Total Tuesday.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFC selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
So the expectation is there for Caleb Williams in his rookie campaign in Chicago. Expected to bring this Bears team to a winning record and a potential playoff berth. Now, Chicago has a win total of 8.5. The over has the juice. That's a 9-8 record expected for a team that won 7 games last year and just 3 the year prior. The Bears, DRS, have only won 10 or more games in a season once since 2012. That was under Matt Nagy back in 2018. They have made the playoffs twice in that span in the last 5 years or so, both 2018 and even with an 8-8 record in the weird 2020 NFL season. But it's a minus 108 price for Chicago to see the NFC postseason. It is the 7th best number around the conference. If you follow that, the 7th best number in a conference that has 7 playoff berths, the Bears are going to be expected to contend for a playoff spot late into 2024.
Can they get in? That's going to be the question, right? Hanging around late December, a meaningful football game, Chicago Bears. It makes some sense, and it's for a lot of fun. But if we had to give you one bet right now to say, will the Chicago Bears be in the playoffs or out of the playoffs, Ben? I still think I would have to say out of the playoffs. And it's not a shot at the Bears. I'm expecting big things. And the main ingredient, what do we always say typically when you draft a quarterback and let's just say the top 10 in the NFL? It's not so much the record of the football team, but after that rookie season, do you have yourself a franchise guy? Does he look the part? Is there confidence moving forward? Well, we sort of, sped up the terms here in Chicago because technically they weren't the worst team in the NFL last year, but they did have the best draft pick. And they went out and surrounded him with a ton of talent, which typically you're trying to build from within to see what you have before you add the talent. The Bears actually put the horse in front of the cart in front of the horse, if you will, which I love to see. Yeah. You want to surround your team and your talent, specifically the quarterback, with as much talent around him as you possibly can. But also, is it going to be a surprise if the Bears have an under 500 record, let's just say midway through October? Technically, no. It's still a rookie quarterback and a young team that's still not used to winning just yet. So we're trying to set those expectations as, oh my goodness, great quarterback, great wide receivers. Here we go to a 5-1 start by the time, we're floundering around in the middle of October. I don't know if it's going to be that case. I want to believe so. I want to sit back and watch how they do in September, specifically that offense. But we are putting a lot of expectations on the Bears with a lot of moving pieces.
The defense is very good and was the key to spurning Chicago to those 5 victories in their last 7 regular season games. That is Matt Eberflus's focus. He enters year number 3 at the helm in Chicago. New offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, who was in Seattle under Pete Carroll, to merge with Caleb Williams. The Bears have invested in the offense, something they did not really do for Justin Fields, but they have done so for Caleb. Again, a winning season. That is what is expected in Chicago. For the Minnesota Vikings, could it also be a rookie quarterback from the very start? J.J. McCarthy, great in his preseason debut on Saturday for the Vikes. 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, bouncing back from an INT on his opening offensive possession. The pieces are there offensively under Kevin O'Connell. They paid Justin Jefferson this offseason, but the win total for Minnesota, just 7.5. The only team out of the 4 in the NFC North that has the juice on the under of their win total. 7.5 is the number. And again, that juice on the under. What is your thought for the Vikings entering 2024?
There's a chance, I don't think the Vikings can win the division, but there is a chance that the Vikings certainly can wind up in 3rd place and have a decent record in the NFC North. Here's the issue that you come into it with. With a quarterback, right? What do you not want to see if you're a pocket quarterback, which the majority of the NFL quarterbacks are? It's pressure up the middle. The Vikings have 2 solid offensive tackles on the outside, but there's a lot to be desired from guard, center, guard in that position, which means you are going to get attacked right up in the pocket. It's great to have Justin Jefferson. Just throw it out there. The guy's wide open just on every single play, it feels like, and he's going to make plays. You have competency in wide receivers around him. Addison, let's just see how long that suspension might be and how long he's going to be out. He's picked up a solid running back. I do like the Vikings this season. I just don't think they have any playoff aspirations for me because, again, the goal for the Vikings to me is let JJ play most of the season here, if not start the season, see how he is, and by the end of his rookie year, you'll know about that franchise guy, and if they're playing well and they win 7 or 8 games and he's competitive, that's all you can ask for the Vikings this season. It's tempered expectations here, but for a reason.
Yeah. I think that is the moniker of success as well, DRS. Is J.J. McCarthy the face of the franchise with the pieces around him? The Vikings have never had less than 7 wins in the last 10 years. 2013's NFL season was the last time Minnesota had less than 7 wins, despite having exactly 7 wins 3 times in the last decade. Hour 3 is up next, live right here on the Early Line.